Evening, everybody. Steve Wellings here. Hopefully, everybody can hear me okay. Post-fight podcast for the Errol Spence Jr. Kell Brook fight. We've got Adam Smith on the line, Ben, Donny, Andy, and Tommy. Sorry about the late start there, guys. We had a bit of housekeeping. We had to just get sorted. People are texting me asking when we're going live. We're going live now. So if anybody wants to come on, hit us up on Twitter or Facebook, and we'll give you the link and we'll get you on. Andy, we'll go to you first, the main man. Pretty good fight, man. I really enjoyed it, actually. Kell Brook, fair play to him. He did his job. I know that a lot of people can go and quitter, Andy. I know you're probably going to say that too. But when it comes to the eye, man, you've got to be careful.
Aye. Yeah, good fight. It was hard going to score. Sometimes it was some of it was quite close. Yeah, I am in the camp that he did quit. Tony called it how I would probably have called it as well. It's we're paying to see guys fight it out, and in some cases we all expect them to go above and beyond the call of duty. The Gatties, guys like that just kind of just basically put it on the line. Brook basically quit out, and he didn't go out in his shield there last night, the night, couple of minutes ago, whatever it was. But I've been winding some people up on Twitter and stuff. At least Kang goes out in his shield. At least he gets knocked out and carried out. Brook just goes into one knee and just quit like I don't want to say quit like a dog, but he gave his best shot as he could. I thought he was looking quite sharp first couple of rounds. But I think it was about the 7th or 8th. The air just came right out of the tyres. He just looked absolutely drained. Spence obviously started getting on top of him, worked the body. Only Brook will know how bad that eye is. He says it's broke in the 7th round. He said, he says, obviously he would know about how that injury would have felt there. But so it says Joe Kawasaki's fought on with broken hands. There's guys fought on with burst eardrums that throw off your equilibrium. Cracked ribs. Fighters in the ring not always 100% fit. That type of stuff. You would think fighting in front of your home fans, 27,000 strong in there. We spoke about. I said that about Tony Bellew when he got dropped against Makabu at Goodison. He had to get up off the floor because he was in front of his own crowd, and he got up and he went back and he got into the fight. Brook didn't do that. Terence Crawford said that he quit. I'm agreeing with Tony Bellew as well that he quit. Terence Crawford called it a quit. If I offend anybody, I don't give a fuck, because at the end of the day, it's my opinion. My opinion is this: Kell Brook quit.
We've all got our opinions. Everybody's going to have their say. Tommy, I know what Andy's saying about the injuries to ribs and eardrums and hands and stuff, but it was the same when Matisse was fighting Postol. I always think to myself, in a few years' time, whenever the dust settled and we're all going on about our business and onto another fight, if someone's sitting there and they can't see, there's no vision for the rest of their lives, man. I'm a bit squeamish about the eyes, Tommy. I'm a bit squeamish about the eyes.
I'm here, mate. I'm exactly with Andy. At the end of the day, we've seen Rocky Marciano fight on with his nose hanging off, and Antonio Margarito's fought on with one of the worst eye injuries I've ever seen. In that, at the end of the day, he's getting paid millions of pounds, and he's quit like a dog. There's no way to put it. I thought he wanted. He did. He wanted to quit against Golovkin as well. He was waving his corner and that, telling him, pointing at his eye. He was wanting that fight as well. The going went tough last night. He was tired after 6 rounds. I'm not just blaming the eye injury. I think he just swallowed it. I took a bit of joy in that tonight, though. In fact, because a lot of Brook fans have been saying for years that Amir Khan's not got any balls. Well, at the end of the day, Amir Khan would never quit in a fight. Kell Brook's the one with any balls. Suck it.
Donny, 2 boys have made their opinions known. Are you with me or are you with the lads?
Smoke it.
I'm with you, Steve.
Bitch.
People, I knew that was coming. People could say, well, this guy fought with broken hands. Mickey Ward fought with a broken eardrum. Ali fought with a broken jaw.
So did Ricky Burns, legend, TBE, suck it.
Yeah, I mean, all these guys fought with their injuries. But I have to say, though, there's one thing that, a hand could heal, a jaw can heal. All these things can heal, but I think the eye is one thing where it's like if you really can't see and you're worried about, and he's already had the associated, trauma of already having his other eye fucked up very badly and having a titanium implant, to get it right again. I have sympathy for people when they're talking about their eyes, and You know, I mean, he gave a good fight. And actually, after he went, you know, after he got hurt at a couple of points, he came back and asserted himself. I mean, he did fight it out. But, I mean, I think that at some point, you know, if your eye is really fucked up, I mean, that has to really scare you. And, you know, like Steve said, when all the dust settles and, you know, after all, like the podcasts, you know, and all the hot takes that we're going to give or whatever are done, I mean, this guy is going to have to live another 40 years of his life. And do you want to live that without an eye? I wouldn't. You know, the eye is just one injury where I just have a unique type of a sympathy where I just think it's like, it's irreplaceable.
Oh, bollocks, man. Joe Frazier fucking fought on fucking blind in one eye for about, what, 5-6 years? Man the fuck up.
Yeah, well, you
It's
know,
not the eye anyway. It's a fucking bone. It's a bone. It's not the eye.
Let me just say this so you can finish your point.
I made my point.
Boxing is a sport where the expectations upon any individual fighter are totally unrealistic that we would ever expect on anybody in any other sport. We expect them to go out on their shield. We expect them to, like, be ready to fucking die in the ring, you know, to do that or whatever. And I understand why that is. It's because, I mean, you know, fights aren't really fights unless people aren't willing to give everything. And I mean, I get that, but I'm just saying from a human perspective, you know, I mean, if you really think about it, you can understand why somebody makes that decision. You may not agree with it, and it may not fit with what we normally expect of boxers. I'm just saying I don't blame him, and I'm not going to call him a bitch. I'm not going to say anything because you know what? Honestly, and this is why maybe I'm not a professional boxer, but, well, there's a lot of reasons why I'm not, but I'm just saying maybe this is one of the reasons. I wouldn't personally do the same, and I don't blame him.
Class A pussy.
Yeah, let me bring in Smido here. Smido, if this had happened after the second or third round, then you could maybe level the accusation at Brook. Do you think the fact that it was late on in the fight and he'd built up credit in the bank for the fact that he'd fought so hard, you know, with the eye going through all the rounds, does that give him some kind of credibility, the fact that he quit on his knee?
I don't really know, to be honest. I don't think you can take much credibility out of it, although I would say, Steve, that I do agree with you and Donny, because if his eye is fucked, that is life-changing. Having a broken hand or a broken jaw is not life-changing for permanently. It might change your life for 2 or 3 months. So I've got to...
We're going soft on this podcast.
I can't really hate on him too much. Like, literally, as I saw it, the ref broke him, or he got up from a count, whatever it was, and he almost like got his left glove and almost rubbed his eye. And to my mind and my eyes, I saw that as he's touched his eye or rubbed across it, and he's felt, fucking hell, something's gone there, or it's shattered, or whatever. I don't know the feeling. I don't want to know the feeling. And then he's just gone down. Then he hasn't necessarily gone down under about 100 punches, has he? I mean, they didn't actually engage again after they were split up. But, I mean, for once, and I'm going to milk it because it don't often happen. I said last week that Spence will win by a KO through sustained body damage and the reoccurrence of an orbital bone injury. Now, actually, it was on the other eye, so I want 100% right. But then again, the fans wouldn't want me to be 100% right. But fair play to Spence. Great fight.
I don't think he quit because of the eye. I think he quit because he was tired. He went on with the eye for a few rounds. I think he was tired.
Oh, he wasn't that.
It was a bit of both.
Oh, he was sharp. He was tired after 6 rounds. I thought he was tired and quit.
No, I mean, yeah, he was tired, but he was no more tired than he was in the Carson Jones fight. He kept on going then.
No, that's
I think the tiredness was a factor. I saw on Twitter there, Sam Carpenter from another podcast was saying, if it turns out then there's nothing wrong, then he will get slagged, obviously, but I'll wait until I call him a quitter. What do you think about that, Ben? Do you think that's fair enough?
Yeah. I'm a bit hesitant to say he quit because I think it's harsh to say to some fighters. But saying that, like Tommy and Andy said, look, we've had fighters who've had injuries before and they've fought on. Last year, Isaac Chamberlain, his shoulder went and he went on and he beat Wadi Camacho at York Hall. That was a great fight. Harry Greb fought for years with eye problems, and I'm not like...
he died before he was like 40, by the way, just so you know.
He died on the operating table for the eye surgery, actually.
Yeah. It's like, what I was going to say was, it's not that I would condone...
Does that back up your point, Ben, or not?
No, not that I would condone continuing to fight with an eye injury. Like Donnie and said, it's an eye injury is horrendous. in fact, I said to one of my writers just after the fight, I says, I wouldn't want to lose my eyesight over a boxing fight. And maybe that's what went through his head. You know, psychologically, you can get affected by, you know, and I don't know if that's what led him to stop. I think he probably could have continued, but you know, what extra damage he would have sustained, we won't know.
The other question is too is, I mean, okay, you have the eye damage. It's one thing if your eye's really fucked in like round. You know, I remember when Batiste recently got stopped about a year ago.
He quit.
Yeah, right. But when he quit, okay. But you could say, but he was in like round 6 or 7 or whatever. Kell Brook had 1 round left. I mean, and I'm just saying, I still would have done what he done, but I'm just saying, with 1 round left, does that make any difference? I don't know. A lot of people have him up. Some of you guys, we were talking in the chat earlier, and we were saying that, you know, that some people had Kell Brook up. Now it turns out on the scorecards he wasn't up. Actually, Spence was ahead on all 3 scorecards, but at least some people had him up, so he could have conceivably thought that he was ahead in the fight. Does that make any difference as to whether or not he should have fought on or not?
Who was the judge that had it for 5 points?
Adelaide Bird, the racist.
Oh, fuck aye.
I just can't see. He had that injury for a few rounds. I think he quit in the fight because he was tired, honestly.
Let's get on to the fight itself then. What do you think, Adam? We'll bring you in here. Although, Adam, you sound like someone who's talking really quietly, but you don't want to wake your missus upstairs or something. What's that? What's going on?
I've got the nephew around actually as well.
I've got a question. Right? See all these drama queens and that are actually going on and saying that, you know, he was right to bail in the fight because his eye injury and stuff like that. Can anybody on this panel, hand on heart, say that they wanted these 2 fights stopped when the eye injuries happened pretty early? So Lebedev against Jones and Maidana against Morales, where he's calling for the fights to be stopped. No. He's calling for them to quit. No, did you fuck? Because these guys are warriors.
Maidana against Morales, his eye socket wasn't broken.
I was just, Donnie, fights like that get stopped when if your total eye's completely shut.
Well up, his eye socket wasn't broken. That's a false.
It doesn't matter. It was a bad fucking eye injury.
Steve.
No,
you just fucking waxed lyrical there about, you know, you didn't want to lose your eyesight and stuff like that.
Wait a minute, and Kell Brook's eye injury is broken, Donnie, yeah? Is Dr. Trailer diagnosed a broken eye socket?
I would trust Dr. Trailer more than I trust
Dr. Shaw either.
Yeah, let's get Adam in. Adam, I'm like Sam Carpenter. I'm reserving judgment on that. But let's put that to one side and just talk about the fight itself. Pretty nip and tuck for the early rounds. I had Brook 4-2 up at one point, and then Spence pulled it back to 4-3, 4 each, and he just started to take over from that point. He invested a lot in the body early, Adam, and then he reaped the rewards later on.
Yeah, 100%, and that's what I expected of Spence to do. I thought it was absolutely key for Spence to work the body. And he did so. Brook was countering well early doors, and I wasn't scoring it, Steve. I'm like you, I don't bother scoring it. But I think it was clear that Brook was in front after 6, and then Spence started coming on them. I'm not saying anything original. I think that's how everyone saw it. I thought Brook's corner weren't great. Ingle just every round was saying, or every time the camera went to him was saying that Spence was gassing, or Spence was tired, or you've got him here, you know. That was every round. They didn't seem to be concentrating on the eye as much as I thought they should have been before it got bad. And then he said there was 4 rounds left when there was actually 2. I thought it was just a bit chaotic, to be honest. I don't know whether Brook was taking much notice. I don't think the corner was saying the right stuff. That was a bit strange. But yeah,
I thought that he said that to him as inspirational. I thought maybe like Kell was like really, you know, in a haze or whatever. I thought he was just telling him that he had more rounds left to go, just to, you know, to try to tell him that he had more, like, more to go. And
a lot of it to me sounded a little bit repetitive, to be honest. But Spence, you know, he should jab more, I think, but his jab came into it later on as the fight went on, and then there were some really great exchanges. The 8th round was a very good round. I think the 8th round was probably the turning point for me, in Spence's favour. And obviously the 10th round was massive for Spence, and then it finished thereafter. But I would just say on the odds, after 8 rounds, the completion of 8 rounds, Spence was 4-1 the KO, and after 10 completed rounds, Spence was 3-1 for the KO, which I thought was amazing to be 3-1 the KO with the eye evidently, in a bad way, and Kell Brook evidently gassing. I thought that was quite amazing, to be honest.
Tommy, just looking tactically at the fight, Spence, I liked his right jab, the lead southpaw jab.
Yep.
He was copying Brook in the face quite often, and I think that was what started the puffing and started damaging the eye. And from that point onwards, he started introducing the left cross. Tactically proficient performance from the American.
Definitely, especially as the fight wore on for maybe the fifth round onwards, he started landing. Where I actually thought Brook's jab was more effective earlier in the fight. I thought Kell had a really good start to the fight. I gave him 4 of the first 5 rounds, in fact. But just as it gradually went on, Spence was starting to land his shots. He was starting to land his left hand, his backhand, and he was landing the odd body punch as well. I thought he would actually hunted the body more in the fight, but he did land a few as it went on. As I've said, I think Brook got tired, maybe about the 6th round, maybe making weights hurt him. But I'm actually a bit pissed off at the Adelaide Bird scorecard as well. It was 5. She had Spence 5 up in the round. I had him 3 up. I thought that was probably the most. I was pulling for Spence big time, and I'm just thinking to myself, I had him 3 up. How can somebody hear him 5 up? So she leaves a bad taste in the mouth for me. I think we should really touch on her tonight. It's every time there's an African American fighter in the ring, she either gives them a controversial decision or she's got it wide for them, and it's really not right. I'm surprised that the fucking Fresh Prince of Brentwood never protested against her.
Andy, before
you'll definitely grassing her to the sanctioning bodies now, though.
Yeah, exactly. Andy,
pass
before
it on, Eddie Hearns of grass, pass it on.
Before we bring Matty in, free the guru hashtag. Before we bring Matty in, a former podcast host, Andy, Kell Brook was doing okay in spurts, but he never really took control of the fight. Even though Spence at times in the first 6 rounds, I thought he noticed in his face that he was stepping up in levels from the Bundus and the Algiris. There was never really a time where Brook was taking over. He was never really hurting Spence, in my opinion, even though he landed some good shots, despite what the commentators were saying. I don't think he really ever hurt Spence truly with the shots that he landed.
I think he maybe hurt him enough just to kind of make him think twice.
Keep him honest, sort of thing, as they say. Yeah,
he didn't really kind of press home the advantage. But sometimes he would just try and use his physical strength, kind of back him into a corner and just try and wing some shots in there.
What about the holding, Andy? Sorry to interrupt you. What about the holding? Could Foster have been tighter?
Well, it's Brook for the end of the day, mate. I mean, if you look at the Porter fight, okay, you could say the Porter still kind of forced him to fight like that, but I kind of felt that Foster was quite pernickety with the tape. He could easily just ripped it off himself. I mean, it wasn't really hanging off. He could just basically tore it off himself and got the fight started back up again. Twice he done that. He could have maybe gave him precious seconds to recover, but to be honest, I did think that sometimes Brook's shots were, they were really good. There were some good right hands in there. I just because he's awkward and stuff. It's just the way he goes into his shots. It was really hard to kind of look at his shots sometimes. He's actually kind of confirm if he's actually kind of a scoring shot. I had it quite close some of those rounds, and I had it quite even. The fight going into kind of the 8th round. I think I had it even at that point actually, but. No, I just think, as Tommy says, the weight in the end's probably done him a fair bit. The jab you say from Spence was really good. He did work it all night. He worked the body a few times as well. He says, I think the guy started running out between 6, 7, and 8. Definitely by about the 8th round, and that you could tell he was physically wilting it. You could see Spence was working the body. He was then having to kind of, Brook, was kind of coming forward, and he was trying to grab hold of Spence, but he was kind of leaning forward. I think I thought he was going to collapse at one point. But obviously, he did take the knee before he quit. So obviously, the pressure, the body work and stuff that Spence done early doors was obviously kind of making effect. But Brook's doing about he's going to stay at 147. I think he's really need to make the move up. They're talking about he can maybe make the weight for one more fight and stuff, but no, he needs to. I think he maybe needs to look at moving up. And you think about it as well. I posted this on Twitter and stuff, but where the fuck does this Can fight end up now? I mean, okay, say the fight does happen next. I mean, it's not going to do the same numbers as it did beforehand.
Can't see it happening at all, to be honest. No.
Can I see it?
No, can't see it. Right, I have to be on my game tonight, guys. We've got Matty Leonardo on the call, former podcast host of the Nuthouse Asylum. Matty, it's always good to hear from you. What are you thinking tonight?
Oh, hey, thanks for having me back on. I really enjoyed the fight. It was one of those nights where you saw a fighter come into their own, where they hit that stepping stone, and it was a matter of it doesn't necessarily if Spence would have lost tonight, it wouldn't have necessarily meant he was a bum or a gatekeeper. It just would have given you an idea where his level is at. And by beating a fighter like Brook in such a good back and forth battle, although the early knockdowns didn't happen, much akin to what happened to with Joshua and Klitschko. It was just one of those fights where you could see that the kid, you don't know where his ceiling is still because he's beaten more talented fighters. It'd be great to see a fight with Porter come up next. See how he does against a guy who's really going to try to bully him in the ring. But it was just he showed some real grit in there. I had it even through 8 like Andy did, and I think a lot of people scored this fight in a lot of funky ways. I actually had Brook up 4-2 after 6, or excuse me, Spence up 4-2 after 6. But I thought that Brook won 7 and 8 because he was taking the back halves of the rounds and seemed to be imposing himself. But at some point in the 9th is when Spence started whipping those hooks to the body. Just not just throwing one, but throwing 3, 4, 5 hooks, just back and forth. No let up in it. And he finally was able to get Brook to drop his hands, and that's when he was able to do damage to that eye. So Golovkin deserves a little bit of credit for this victory because he has permanently damaged that eye. But Spence was able to work like.
Wait, what do you mean he's damaged? It's the other eye.
He was getting smacked around. I'm sorry, you get in a fight like that with a much larger guy where you're getting punched, it is going to affect you moving forward. It might have been the other eye, but you are going to sustain damage. It's just one of those things.
Oh my, drop the drift bombs. Woo!
Just looking up and down Twitter here, guys, just gauging some of the reaction. Raging Babe says that Hearn reckons Brook should move up to 154 and fight Khan, like you were saying, Andy. And a good tweet from Cam over at the Boxing Coalition. He says Kell doesn't pass the eye test. It's a bit of a harsh one there. Donnie, this might sound a bit harsh, but we do harsh on this podcast. Given the weight making that Kell Brook had to do and the fact that we were all saying before he's going to be really tight, can he get down to the weight successfully? And given the fact that he already had the eye busted up beforehand, was the eye going to hold up? Were there 2 get-out clauses or 2 excuses built in for Kell Brook tonight?
Well, what is that about the about built-in excuses? I'm sorry, I'm just not understanding the question.
Well, what I'm saying is, whenever he went down on that knee, did he already have 2 built-in excuses ready? He was tight at the weight, that's why he gassed. His eye went because Golovkin
I don't. But I don't think he would ever use the fact that it was tight at the weight. Did he say something about the weight in his explanation?
No, this is what I'm asking you.
No, I think that he said, he goes, I couldn't see the guy. He goes, I saw, as I recall, he goes, I saw 5 different versions of him out there. He goes,
hit the one in the middle.
Aye, this David Pauly tells you hit the one in the middle.
Yeah, he said, he goes, I know that the movies would say hit the one in the middle, but look, he didn't. This is all speculative. At the end of the day, he was in a very good fight. Okay, you know what? And actually, the only reason I'll even give Tommy and Andy some credence to their point of view is that there was only a round left plus about a minute of the 11th, so about basically 4 minutes left.
Donnie,
you can hear the crowd were raging with him. The crowd were fucking raging with him when they quit.
He quit, it's a fact.
Okay, you know what? Julio Cesar Chavez quit too. You can
at the back end of his career.
And Andy's motherfucking favorite fighter, Roberto Duran, quit like a bitch. Okay, and he loves to fucking annihilate people for quitting or whatever. But even his most favorite fighter of all time quit.
Are we really going to put Duran in the same fucking sentence as Brook? Because I'll tell you one thing.
I'm not putting him in the same sentence.
I've told you often enough.
The only reason
Duran erased that fucking quit. It took him 3 years to do it, but he fucking done it. Brook will fucking erase that quit job.
He erased it. He never erased it.
How did they know?
He fucking wait.
Everybody, no. I'm explaining to you. Shut the fuck up.
No.
Hold on, Andy. You go first, then Donnie.
No, Roberto
Hold on,
Duran.
Andy. You
He erased the ghost of that quit because he ripped down everything he fucking stood. How did he fucking know? 2 years everybody said he was fucking washed up. Not one cunt gave him a chance against David Moore. And what happened? They stepped him and beat the fucking shit out of him. This is a guy who was washed up.
Yeah.
Right, let Donnie back in. Donnie, go on, Donnie.
He came back against an overrated fighter, and then he beat him or whatever. And so then
Overrated.
And just because it happened in New York in the Madison Square Garden, and everybody didn't give Duran a chance or whatever, and then he came back and he beat Davey Moore. Everybody said, okay, well, Duran,
MSG.
No. The media said, okay, Duran erased the shame of the quit against Sugar Ray Leonard. He didn't erase the shame of the quit. And as a matter of fact, they had a third fight later on, and you know what? He got beat 120 to 108, and he completely.
I'll tell you how this is different with Duran and Kell Brook. Leonard was clowning Duran. Duran just couldn't be bored with the clowning.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Kell Brook
was
completely different.
I understand what you're saying, but what I'm saying is that look, at least you could say, okay, he was fucking pissed off because like Leonard was clowning with him or whatever. You could say whatever, and so he was very frustrated or whatever, and he just quit. Okay. And that, to me, why is like an eye injury where you're not even able to see? To me, that's more admirable than a situation where you're completely able to fight on, as Duran was. He was completely able to fight on, but he chose not to just because he was frustrated. To me, that is much more shameful than being, unable to see and then quitting as a result of that. I mean, if you can't see and you quit, okay, fine. But Duran was just frustrated.
Donnie, shut the fuck up. What about your favourite fighter in life, by the way? Arturo Gatti. He made the biggest quit, didn't he?
Oh dear.
Right,
let's
you're a disgusting person for saying that.
Donnie, right, let's part this. Rob Kelly's on the line. Rob, take us back to tonight. To quit or not to quit? That is the question.
Oh shit! I was unmuted already.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Sorry, lads. I was making a rasher sandwich in the background there, by the way.
Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, no, I'm happy that Spence got the win. I think we talked about it last week. Thought he would do it. He seems to have a bit of a system about it, but like Kell Brook is a very good fighter. We might see that Spence may turn out to be a great fighter. I don't know, but it wasn't going to be a cakewalk for him. The body work definitely played a part in it, like we all thought. And Spence has kind of proved that he is what we thought he was before the fight, which is kind of nice to see. I think Brook probably quit. If people give a lot of stick to Cotto for quitting against Margarito in the first fight, well, he took a lot more punishment than Brook took.
Correct.
Before
That was probably illegal punishment based on loaded gloves.
Hey.
But,
once again, Donnie, no proof.
Exactly. That you're just kind of undermining your own.
Rob, Donnie's a lawyer. He doesn't need proof.
No, I'm not. There's no. He lost to probably a better fighter. He might have wanted to lose. It's the Khan fight that just goes away. That they've lost so much money between the two of them now, because coming off 2 L's now, does Kell Brook get a shot with Khan, and Khan is maybe glad somewhere. He knows there's probably, if he can make 147 again, it's maybe one more time, and that's it. Like, so the window for this fight is to happen now or never, and it looks like it's going to be never, doesn't it? Like, because how long are they going to wait to make the fight? Like, I really don't think Cam wants to fight. That's just the kind of, with the talk out of him. I really don't.
Well, I mean, but the welterweight division is very deep. I mean,
Sure.
Brook can still resurrect his career against other legitimate welterweights. Khan can fight other legitimate welterweights. I mean, they could still fight. I mean, but the funny thing is, though, is that if you saw the Eddie Hearn interview right after the fight, he was basically saying, he didn't necessarily admit
that he's a grass.
Well, he is a grass. But yeah, he didn't necessarily admit that the Khan Brook fight was done, but he was just basically saying, yeah, this fucked, those plans up for us. I mean, they definitely.
I think, in fairness to Eddie, as much as we don't like Eddie, I think he did his best to try and make that fight, because that was the money fight. Like, I think it's Khan really seems to be kind of pricing himself out, or giving us on the A side, or whatever it is that's preventing the fight from happening. I always kind of thought Brook had Khan's number, but I don't think we're going to see it now.
Rob, I know that Brook will take a long time off now and, try and think about what he wants to do. But when I looked at him there in the ring, he looked to me like a guy he boxing anymore and out of the ring. I don't know if boxing's his favourite pastime. He's messed about for a lot of his career. He's been a pro for a long time now. Is his heart still going to be in it?
And I kind of got that feeling too, like he was maybe saying goodbye if we can't get the money fight, like, you know what I mean? Or who's out there? Like they said, the welterweight division is loaded, but like, is there big paydays for him out there now? Like, are they going to pay to see him versus Thurman or Danny Garcia or Crawford if he moves up? I don't think any of those are like big money fights in the UK for him. They did well selling the Spence one, really. He was a bit of a, on his reputation only, but yeah, I don't know. I think he might not stick around. I think he could be right.
Yeah. Stay on the call with us, Rob. I'm going to get Ben back in here. Ben, we were talking about what's next for Kell Brook, whether his heart would still be. So what's next for Errol Spence? He called out a lot of names at the end of the fight, which I always like to hear. He didn't say, speak to Al Heyman or any of that bullshit. Quite a few of the fighters are on the same side of the fence as him with the PBC. He also called out Manny Pacquiao. Cannot see that happening. Where do you think both guys will go, Ben?
Errol Spence, I'm not sure. All depends on Al Heyman, doesn't it? I think Thurman could be a possibility, but I don't. That's what Bellew said, and I don't even know if that's the sort of thing Al Heyman will do really straight away. For Spence, I'm a bit unsure. It's a tough one. That. As for Brook, I think he's going to have to try and stay at 147 because there's only one fight left for him, and that's Khan, and he's not going to get that yet. He's not going to get that until Amir said next year at the fight. And I know it's not going to be till next year. No way till sort of summer next year would we see that fight, and that's at the earliest. So Kell's really going to have to push even harder to make the weight. I mean, his nutritionist said last week to Sky Sports that he can make it for another 18 months, and he'll definitely do another fight at 147. But that's obviously not going to be Khan now. And I think Eddie was half upset that Kell lost, and half upset that has definitely gone away for now. And that a big bartering chip they had in that fight was Kell's belt, and the fact that he was a champion. Now, what have they really got to barter with there? So Kell's lost a lot of power in that sort of fight, in that sense, in the negotiation terms.
Yeah, it's lost a bit of its luster, hasn't it? Amir will feel that he holds all the cards now, and you could see Brook going into negotiations to a point and then, oh, fuck this, I'm out the sport.
Yeah, I really, to be honest with you, when he was saying then that will Brook want to continue, I don't know if he will. I think that's the only fight that motivates him is Amir Khan. For whatever reasons, that's the only fight. I mean, at 154, what's going to motivate him? There might be some fights that we as boxing fans find interesting, but is there anything there that's going to motivate Kell Brook to go and have to do all this again? I don't see it. I think Amir Khan is the only thing he's gonna want to do this again for.
Tommy, Donnie wants to jump in. Go ahead, Donnie.
Well, what I would just say is just that Kell Brook still. I mean, first of all, I don't think anybody should, and the fact that nobody really cared about the Gennady Golovkin loss, right, going into this fight. I mean, nobody really cared about that, right? Because we all knew that Kell Brook was at a weight he didn't belong at. He got beat up by a guy who was 2 weight classes bigger. He gave it his all. He lost. Okay, same with with Amir Khan. I mean, he went up with a guy who was much bigger than him. He lost or whatever. I don't think that those losses really hold any water at all. I think that they need. Okay, well, whatever you say. But anyways, I think that they just both need to.
I never said anything. I just laughed.
No. I mean, they just need to. They need to both fight. Certain semi-legit welterweights. I would say that maybe Khan could fight Lamont Peterson and avenge that loss. I would say that Kell Brook could maybe fight. I don't know. I mean, well, he could fight somebody else in the welterweight division and reestablish himself or whatever. But that fight can still happen as long as they both, make some, significant weights. Wins at the weight, and they would be okay. That fight can still happen. But really, what I really hope happens, though, is I really hope that there's that this fight effectively serves as a semifinal type of eliminator fight. So, okay, now we got the winner of Kell Brook and Errol Spence. The winner is Errol Spence. Now, Errol Spence should fight Keith Thurman. They're both in the same promotional stable. They're both under Al Heyman. The fight could easily happen.
Not kind of.
Yes, there'll probably be some, maybe a middling fight in the big, in the immediate future, but eventually they should fight each other. And then Pacquiao, after he's done doing his sort of, business with Jeff Horn or whatever, should fight Crawford, right? And then Pacquiao fights Crawford. The winner of that fights Errol Spence, and the winner, and then we're going to have either Pacquiao or Crawford fight Spence for the undisputed, unquestioned welterweight supremacy. I think that's the fight that we're all looking for. So we need Pacquiao to fight Crawford so that we can get
about Keith.
Keith's been for at least 6 months, 10 months anyway with that elbow surgery, so that's all happening until late next year, if it happens.
I think everyone's living on fantasy with any thoughts of Spence potentially fighting Pacquiao. I mean, even Crawford's a far cry. Pacquiao definitely fighting Crawford isn't even a guarantee. I think what you're going to see happen is that Spence will end up fighting Sean Porter on the same card that Keith Thurman returns on, where he might end up fighting someone like a Lamont Peterson, where it's not necessarily an easy touch, but he can wade back in after a tough injury. That's what I think is the more logical next round of bouts.
Yeah, immediately next, but I'm just saying that, eventually these two people have to fight each other. And we have actually been seeing in 2017, some of these promotional barriers that we used to always think were absolute are not necessarily absolute anymore.
Hearn's just saying the new in an interview that the rematch is likely. I don't think there's any need for a rematch, really, is there?
No, I don't think there is, Tommy, to be honest with you. A couple of comments. First of all, don't forget we're going live tomorrow night, Sunday evening as usual. So if you don't get on tonight or don't drop us any comments, we'll get them on for you tomorrow night. Mick Doonan's been in touch with me. He says in 2014, Kell avoided a packed division and first real challenger he faced, he quit. Kell Brook is a fraud, says Mick. Right, we've got Sam Keane on the line. Sam, what's happening?
Sambo.
We can see your head, Sam. Sam, are you there?
Knockdown, Steve. First round knockout.
Can I just say that I actually slightly agree with that statement. I think who has Kell really, besides Sean Porter, and I like Donny said, in a sense, don't count Golovkin in Kell Brook's record, because it's ridiculous to count it in that sense of who has he fought. It was a mismatch, and it was only done because Amir was fighting Canelo, which was a mismatch as well. That fight was a money fight for Amir and a takeover fight, something to do for Canelo, really, while avoiding Golovkin maybe. Anyway, the point is, who was Kell really beat?
Frankie Gavin.
There you go. Look at his record. It's not great. And you look at Errol Spence has fought more names that your casual fan will recognise than Kell Brook has.
That's a good point, Ben, because last week I was saying, well, really, who has Errol Spence fought? But I suppose if you look at it realistically and say, well, okay, look at Brook after 21 fights against Spence after 21 fights, and there's no real comparison, is there? When Adam Smith was on commentary, Ben, it really made it starkly apparent how sort of weak Kell's resume is. He says he's beaten southpaws before. I remember him knocking out Kevin McIntyre in a round back in. I thought, flip me, is this? It's sort of a few levels apart, Adam.
And guess what? They even made him the fucking number one welterweight by Ring Magazine. AIDS.
Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, it is ridiculous. We were talking about southpaws the other day. I think it was in the group, and we were saying, you were asking who was he fought. It was on the last week's show. Yeah. And I went through his boxing record, and I was looking at the southpaws, and it's going back a while, but none of them were anything special. His record is it's compared to all the other top welterweights. I think he's got definitely the worst record. Who out of the top welterweights has a worse record than or has fought that B-level fighters like Kell has?
Good point. Right, Sam's on his knee. We're going to give him a chance, give him a count, see if he gets up. Sam, how you going on? Just having a look in Sam's eyes here, Sam. Walk forward. Sorry, Sam. Then we've lost him. Right, Matty, we haven't heard much from you. Tell me something before we go on to the undercard. Where's Spence going to go next?
My position on the injury and the quit job is it's as much as we like machismo and stuff like that, you're taking a very strong stance when you're telling a person that you know better than they do when it comes to what their potential for future earnings is. If you're looking for somebody to totally damage themselves and make it so that they can't pursue their craft anymore and finish life comfortably, that's a very strong statement. I'd err away from stuff like that personally. I really think the guys they know for better. It reminded me a lot like Matisse against Postol. Actually, they just knew better than to get up.
Mick Doonan's been back in touch. Follow-up comment. Yeah, Donnie, hold on. Let me just throw this comment in. Mick Doonan has said, how does Sam Eggington's record look compared to Kells, apart from the Porter win? It doesn't really stand out. Go ahead, Donna.
Well, first of all, whoever said that's stupid. Anyways, all right, yeah. Whoever played that's funny. No, I'm not going to respond to this.
Come on, Donnie. What's wrong?
No, until you turn that countdown music off, I'm not.
Come on, Donnie.
I didn't even hear any countdown music.
Island in your sophomore year.
Oh, I hear it now.
Rachel Riley's having a close look.
Donnie, if it's any consolation, Sam's been counted out, so the floor is all yours.
Wait, what was the question, though? I had a point here.
I don't know if I had a question. I think
you were responding to me, probably.
No, I was just saying. I mean, shit. I had a point. The countdown music totally messed me up. Wait.
Right, come on, Donnie. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to count you out.
Fuck. Yeah, count me out. I'm sorry.
Right, let's count out Donnie. We'll come back to Donnie when he remembers what he was going to say. Tommy, let's go on to the undercard briefly. If anyone wants to come on and talk about the main event, feel free. Talk to me about George Groves against Chudinov. Decent fight early on. I thought the machine was going to break him down, but I'll give Groves all the credit in the world because he showed a hell of a finish.
Definitely, mate. I thought he came out really quick. I thought he was going to actually bait 50 quid on Chudinov in play because I see Groves coming that fast. He's got to fade in this fight. I was convinced it, but the finish to end it and that Groves really pulled it out of the bag. I'm not going to turn around and say I've not seen the replay of the stoppage to see if all the punches were landing and that. I felt when I was watching live it was a bit premature, but I've seen people on Twitter saying that was quite good. So
they were landing, Tom. They were landing.
If they were landing, well, you can't really have a complaint about that. So, well, the fair play to Groves. He's not my favourite fighter in the world. I think he's been a big DeGale fan, but he's finally got his world title. So hopefully we can see that fight made. Now that's a big fight.
Yeah, want to see the rematch, Rob? I like I said to Tommy on our chat, I wasn't really buying into the whole Groves fairy tale as if he hadn't won a world title because the forces had all gone against him. He'd had 3 chances and he'd been beaten fair and square all 3 times from what I saw.
Yep, and tonight he's won a vacant title of a version of a title, and he was behind in the fight. Right, I haven't seen that fight yet. I was actually on a pad. I was at padding for the whole weekend, but I caught the main event. But I'm gonna watch it because I mean it is going to set up this DeGale rematch. And probably DeGale's looked better over the last couple of years than Groves had. I did have Groves winning the first fight. I thought DeGale kind of gave it away a bit, and he had too much from him on the night. But where his career's gone with the fights at the world title, coming up short against Battle Jack really put him. I didn't really think he'd get another shot at the world title, but there he is, and we're probably going to see that fight. Big money fight, Sky hype job. Probably DeGale has the edge at this stage, doesn't he? So,
yeah. I'm going to throw a question out to the panel and then I'm going to ask you about Groves, Andy, give everybody a chance to have a think because it might be a bit of a difficult one. From Geordie McDonough on Twitter, he said, in the last 2 years, how many UK fighters have beaten genuine world-class opposition? So how many UK fighters in the last 2 years have beaten genuine world-class opposition? Well, everybody chews on that. Andy, tell me about George Groves. He came out early and he looked a bit flustered in the first round. He didn't get that world-class jab, and it is a world-class jab going. He decided to firefight with Chudinov, which I thought was a bad tactic, but it worked for him, really, didn't it, to head on body?
Yeah, it had to work for him, mate, because I think he was really kind of forced into that style of fighting. Chudinov just kept coming forward. He's not the biggest hitter, mind you, but he's tough as fuck. He's same as his brother Dimitri, man, just hard as fucking nails. Like Tommy, I did think that maybe Groves was going to stop late at the rate he was fighting it, because he was getting forced to fight every single second. The foot movement's regressed a bit, though, I must admit, for his earlier career. Maybe it's age, maybe it's maybe some of the tough fights he's been with Frotch knockout or whatever, maybe that's taken it out. I'm not too sure, but he got it done in the end. He started picking his shots. I thought it was a really good fight, actually. He done, well, probably saved the card, really. A couple of good rounds in Brook Spence, obviously, but picked his shots well. Some good shot selections, uppercuts, right hands behind the guard. I agree with you as well. The stoppage I thought was pretty much spot on, because I was actually shouting to the cunt, move your fucking head.
Didn't throw back Andy at all, did he?
That was the thing, mate. I thought, given Foster's previous the last couple of weeks and stuff, he gave him a lot of latitude, a lot of latitude. So as I say, I think in the end when the fight did get stopped, actually, I think he actually kind of accepted, what ref, it was a fair stoppage actually, because I was just getting beat up. And you did think as well, as you heard Grove saying, actually he was getting kind of concerned that he maybe have to start kind of, obviously the Gutnick situation still weighing on top of him, and that he's maybe going to start calling the ref in to stop the fight and stuff, because he was taking too many clean shots, and you say he wasn't firing back. And I've seen a couple of that guy's fights, and I've seen his brother Dimitri against Eubank and stuff that they're tough as fuck, and he wasn't going to quit. Obviously, there's no Kell Brook in him, so saved by the referee. I think it was definitely the right call.
Yeah. Ben, I said Chudinov didn't throw back. I'm going to moderate that and say that Chudinov couldn't throw back. I think the velocity and the speed that Groves was throwing the punches in just caught Chudinov in a complete storm. And that Eastern European sort of robotic style that he has, coming forward, throwing punches, is okay to a certain extent, but I think that was his downfall. He has to set his feet and get into position to throw punches. And when he got caught by the speed of Groves' attack, he wasn't able to set himself, and he just got caught in a complete maelstrom, a complete storm. That's what I think happened at the time of the stoppage. Ben?
Yeah. Sorry, I was trying to find or think of fighters. Yeah. I don't think he knew what to do. I think he was, his style is it was worrying, because he could just take so much punishment, and he wasn't going to go down. So it was good that the referee did step in.
Yeah,
but
yep.
Sorry, go on.
No problem, guys. Right, Mick Doonan's been on again. Not that this is an ongoing thing between him and Donny. He said the point he was making regarding Sam Eggington was Sam has fought the same level of people that Kell has since 2014 until tonight. That was my point, and Sam is shit, says Mick. I threw out a question before we got Ben and Rob in there about UK fighters over the last 2 years, the amount of world-class wins they've had. Guru, I don't know if you came in, but Mick again has jumped in. Carl Frampton, I got this one myself against Leo Santa Cruz. Tony Bellew against Makabu. Billy Joe Saunders. AJ against Klitschko. Fury against Klitschko. Jamie McDonnell, that was another one I remembered, against the Japanese fella. And James DeGale getting a win against Durrell. Any you can add in, Tommy? UK fighters in the last 2 years, world-class wins?
2 years? I thought I was going to throw a couple of... Sorry, Tommy, mate, but I was going to throw a couple of old ones there, but Tommy, maybe...
Anthony Joshua and Fury are class same as well. Still class. Vladimir is a world-class fighter, even though he's faded.
Yeah, good.
He's still probably the same fighter, isn't he?
Yeah, Frampton and McDonnell were the only two I could think of. Right, Sam's back on the line. Sam, can we hear you?
Can you hear me, boys?
Yeah, I can hear you. Sam, go on ahead there. What do you think about the fight tonight?
How's it going, boys? Look, I've just got back from watching the fight in the pub, which is a first for me.
You buzzing, mate? Yeah. You beat?
A little bit, mate. A little bit. Boys. I've not heard any of the conversations tonight. what's everyone's opinion
Quite like a dog.
on the fight? I've not heard nothing, so
Warrior spirit. There's mixed, Sam. Some people have said that he's quit. Some people have said that we're sympathetic towards the eye injury. But what do you think? That's what we're worried about.
Was it the same eye that got Cave Glofkin though? Was it
No.
the same eye or
No, different
Apparently
eye.
not. Apparently not.
different
no.
eye? Right. Okay.
Yeah.
My opinion is, look, you know, I listen to you lads every week. I'm verging on hardcore, but look, I still buy into the hype a little bit. But Brook for me is a good fighter. He is.
I like the up close in the eyes view that we're getting right now.
Chingaling.
Donny baseball. Oh, listen. Oh, yeah. For me, Kell Brook is a very, very good fighter. I think. I know he's not the most spectacular fighter to watch, but he does a lot of things very well. But Errol Spence tonight, he didn't surprise me. I thought that's what he had in the tank, but it was a quit for me. Unfortunately, I hate to say it because I buy into the old Britain versus America thing, and unfortunately, it was a quit for me. Especially if it was the same eye that went in the Glockin fight, then I would say, do you know what, Eddie Hearn, you're a cunt, and you put your welterweight fighter in for a few quid, and the same eye's gone tonight. But if it wasn't that same eye, why has he took a knee to that? Come on, boys, why has he took a knee to that? But you know, what do you lot think? Like I say, I've not heard any of you lot opinions. I've just been in the pub, no sound on.
As I says, mate, I think it was the tiredness. You looked tired about 6 rounds. I think it was the tiredness that played the part. I don't think it was really the eye injury at all. I think that's just he's copped out with that. As I said after the Triple G fight, you can clearly see it in the Golovkin fight. He was signalling his corner, pointing to the eye. I think he was wanting pulled out of that fight as well, and I think he swallowed it. I think he swallowed it tonight.
He likes to swallow all the time anyway, doesn't he, mate?
Yeah. Do you know what? It hurts to say it, but if it was, like I say, boys, if it was the same eye, then you've got to say, Hearn, you're a cunt. You've chucked your welterweight your welterweight champion in there with Golovkin, and now his eye's gone in, but the other eye's gone, and I can't find no excuse for him. I'm sorry, but
it was definitely his left eye tonight. It wasn't the same eye.
Yeah. Well, there you
Sam,
go.
what about the undercard? Any brief comments on that?
Oh, look, mate, again, with the undercard, I've like I say, usually I'm a big boxing fan. I'll sit there and watch it on my own in the house and that, but I've been dragged out tonight, and everyone else is doing everything else but watching the boxing. I've sat there on my own in the pub. I thought the Dave Allen fight couldn't really judge. It seemed like the other lad was getting the better shots off. I thought the Groves fight was good, but again, Groves always looks vulnerable, doesn't he? He's pulled it off. Fair play to him. Yeah, but apart from that, Anthony Fowler, I don't like the guy. You know, just don't like him. You know, the things he comes out with. But I can't really say much on the card because I'm sat there on my own in the pub watching it. But it seemed good enough. To be fair, I saw Randy put a tweet out this afternoon. Well, early on in the card, which I agreed with. Look, I agree with Andy on most things. But for me,
you know, it makes sense.
If I were there tonight, I would have been in the bar having a pint until the Groves fight come on, because I'm not buying into the hype of the undercard. It was Groves and Kell Brook.
Wait, so you agree with Andy on most things?
Andy Pops, I think he was talking about, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, you know, that's your first problem right there.
All right, Donny.
Right, Sam, anything you want to add before we move on? And then I'll get Matty back in.
Not really, Steve, to be honest. Do you know what? Brook might have quit tonight, but I think he showed that he's a good fighter. But at the end of the day, you can't excuse that quit, can you? I'm sorry, but you can't.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on, Sam. Appreciate it. See you later.
Nice one, Steve.
Cheerio. Bye. Matty, go ahead, sir.
3 things. One, if you were just watching Sam talk on his camera square there, it was kind of like watching a boxing British version of the Blair Witch Project. 2, man, Brook was in bad shape. Have you guys ever seen the Mel Brooks movie, not Mel Brooks, Mel Gibson movie, Man Without a Face? You know, it's kind of like the same thing. On one side, he looked kind of normal, but on the other side of his face, he looked like a beaten Filipino wife. All right, he was in bad shape. 3, I think what Grove showed against Chutinov is that yes, there are exceptions to the rule, but generally speaking, that upright style of fighting, the way to go about them, which is pretty much key, is if you have decent legs, you don't try to throw straight punches. You hook around the guard, you take a step around, and you just keep going in volume. You've seen Abraham struggle in the same ways. Claudia, when he started to slow down, it was the same thing if you move that way on him. You remember against Pacquiao, he threw 110 punches. It's that style is is really easy to pick apart if you have good athletic ability. It really is.
Right, last call for anybody who wants to come on the show. We're not staying on all night, so if you want to come on, hurry the hell up. Anything from the undercard, Ben, you want to talk about? I didn't see the Dave Allen fight, to be honest with you, so I can't tell you exactly what happened about that. Anthony Fowler, not really any great value there either. I mean, is there anything on the undercard?
All right.
Dave Allen was a close one. Beginning,
It was shit.
Yeah, it was crap. It was a boring fight, and I was on study daycare while it was on, so I didn't watch it intensely. But at the beginning, he wasn't doing enough. He seemed to be doing more as it went on, or controlling the fight a bit more. But the referees didn't like what he was doing, and he just lost it. It was a split decision, I think. Then after that, it was like Anthony Fowler and stuff, and what that punch he did was, he said he thought he was crouching, but he seemed to be quite clearly down. So that was a bit, bang out of order. And I think the same thing sort of happened in the next 2 fights, but my stream sort of went for those next sort of fights that went on. I think it was Okoli and Cordina, so I didn't really catch those. But I think that's what sort of happened there as well.
I can see why he puts them on, Ben, but I've no real interest in watching those guys against 4-rounders. I prefer the American system where they appear about the 9th or 10th fight on an ESPN and then they sort of go from there up the scale. Yeah, Ben?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think the Okoli and Cordina were slot fights on the schedule that got sent out. So, I assume because whichever the Fowler fight finished early or whatever, they threw the foul, will throw them in now in case the other fights go the distance. But yeah, we do see too many fights on the cards over here from both Frank and Eddie on the live shows. I think that needs to change sooner rather than later.
Yeah, Donnie, a bit of quality over quantity, maybe.
Well, I just want to, I know we're talking about the undercard. I just want to just focus the discussion on what I think where a lot of us are thinking, and fuck you for your music. And this time I did remember what I was going to say, so I'm not going to respond. What are we all thinking with regards to, okay, you know what? I think that within the next year, Errol Spence can fight Keith Thurman. What do we all think about that fight? Who wins? How do they win? Anybody have a breakdown? I think I do, and I'll give it in a minute in case anybody wants, but I just want to hear what other people have to say.
Errol Spence against Thurman, did you say?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying, because, think about it. They're underneath the same promotional umbrella. The only people that I think we'd otherwise be interested in are Pacquiao and Crawford, which are under the Top Rank umbrella. So let's just, what do we have? What happens in this fight? I think within the next year, I think it can happen, and I think especially with Al Heyman being the last year of his contract with NBC, right? He needs to get good ratings. He needs to get the big ratings to show that boxing can get the kind of ratings that they're going to want to pay him, right, for the thing. And they've already gotten great ratings for, Thurman versus Garcia. So they've already shown that they can get good ratings when they put on the good fights. So, what happens in this fight? I think this fight could actually happen, and I think it could happen very soon.
Yeah, Ben, please proceed. I cut you off there. What do you think about this?
I was just going to say, and I might be wrong, but if obviously someone's going to lose that fight, and then Al Heyman's losing one of his cash cows. He's got those 2 champions there now. And all right, he'll still have one. But
he has so many other guys at the weight, though.
Yeah, he does. But we've not seen them go down against each other until this past 12 months, really. So maybe you're right, because Sean Porter said a few months ago that Al Heyman's told everybody that there's no more easy fights. this year everybody has to fight everybody. And the only person who hasn't really done anything is Amir. Everybody else really has been involved. We saw Danny Garcia lose.
And also with Amir, you have to understand that's only an advisory agreement. He's not under contract.
Yeah, Amir's is a slightly different agreement. Luckily for Amir, so he's in a bit of a special situation there. But yeah, maybe we will see that fight. The only thing that I think we might not see it straight away is because Al's going to want to milk everything he can out of building someone or one of them. I thought it was going to be Danny, and a lot of people in the industry thought it was going to be Danny because he was undefeated and he had more appeal than Keith did to a mass audience. And a lot of people in the industry told me that Floyd's 50th was going to be Danny. And that was a big thing for a long time. It was definitely going to be Danny. And obviously Danny's lost now, so God knows what he's going to do, who he's going to come back against. But yeah, that's the only reason I think he might not do that fight straight away. But I'd love to see it though.
What I'm saying is that I think it is going to happen because remember, like I said, the PBC agreement, what they're trying to do is they were trying to show NBC, they were actually paying for the airtime as if they were like an infomercial, right? So the same way that they pay for airtime, they're trying to show them that they can get the ratings. Now, actually, this year particularly, they have gotten fantastic ratings when they've put on very, very good fights like, Thurman versus Garcia. And, Spence went on at the end of 2016. He got great ratings. I mean, they're getting very good ratings. They can do this. And I think that Heyman's going to be hard pressed to make this fight now so that hopefully when he shows NBC, hey, I can get good ratings with boxing. I mean, they beat the National Hockey League. They beat the Major League Baseball League. They beat baseball. I mean, they beat a lot of these other major sports in the United States when they put on these great fights. I think that he needs to put on another great fight just to solidify that position. I think the fight has to be made. I think it will be made within the next year. And all of the network and, all the economic bullshit being shut up. All the network bullshit being put aside. I mean, who wins the fight? How do we see it breaking down?
Right, overriding thoughts for the evening then from everybody, and then we're going to get the hell out of here because it's gone 1 o'clock over here. Rob Kelly, you first of all, anything you want to talk about the night?
Yeah, no, can we just stop throwing Sean Porter back into the mix for everybody? I don't want to see him anywhere anymore. Like, I know he's probably capable of beating a few guys, but his style is terrible. So that's my overriding note. I hope it's not Sean Porter next.
Thanks to you, Rob. We'll maybe speak to you tomorrow night.
Yeah, for sure. See you soon, guys.
Thank you. Matty, what about you? Overriding feelings and emotions? Are you feeling emotional tonight?
No, I'm not feeling particularly emotional. I'm far too stoned to have emotions, right on that level right now. So, I'm seeing things clearly.
My man.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to. I really think the next fight that we're going to see is Spence against Sean Porter. Maybe despite other demand, I think that's going to be next. I think it's going to be a really good fight as well, and it'll be interesting for them to have Thurman to have a common opponent coming in with them too. So definitely an exciting few months ahead, and I think the PBC model might be able to survive off of some really desirable matchups moving forward.
Thanks, Matty. It's always good to hear from you.
Hey, great. Thanks for having me on.
Cheers. Andy, what about you? Overriding thoughts from the night?
Undercard shit. Fair play to George Groves. Decent enough main event. Good to see Spence win. I think it's good for boxing because I don't know, as it says, I think everybody would agree about Brook's heart's really not in boxing. So it's really good. And again, as well as that's another British fighter lost his world title apparently. So that number's been whittled down pretty quickly. So all in all, it was good to see the fight. Obviously the best man won, and we can move on. Hopefully we get some unification fights coming up. I think it says at welterweight anyway, Spence could be the future until Crawford comes up.
Ben, what about you?
I'm happy George Groves won because I want to see all the 168 belts in this country, and I want to see everybody fighting for them. I think that'll be good. I said that a few months ago, and I really want that to happen. I'm glad. I wanted Spence to win for a number of reasons, and I'm just glad that we didn't see Vinnie Mac, aka Eddie Hearn, and Amir Khan dive into the ring afterwards and announce that fight, because I don't want that fight to happen yet. I don't think, especially I don't want Amir to be doing that fight right now.
Amir had a mare, didn't he? He went through the analysis and he said Thurman about 3 times in a row at one point.
Yeah, we're all doing it tonight. Carl Froch was calling him Spencer for half the fight. So yeah, Amir isn't the best at public speaking. So, but yeah, I'm glad that didn't get.
Do we think Amir Khan is happy tonight or sad tonight?
I think he's happy.
He doesn't want that fight.
No, you know what? I'll say this. I've said this to you before about Amir, and I'll say it again. Amir will fight anybody, but right now, I don't want him personally to take that fight because he's been out. I've said this in the group. I think he's been out too long. His hand injury doesn't need that fight right now. After Kells have got an eye injury now, so we don't know what's going to happen. But I didn't personally want that to happen straight away, like as in October, whatever. I didn't want that to be Amir's next fight. So I'm glad that's not happened.
Thanks very much, Ben. And Donny, final thoughts from you?
Keep it short, Donny.
Donny, final thoughts? No beef? No raw beef?
Your sister is your mother, your father is your brother, you all shag one another, it's a Donny family.
All right, well, yeah, you know what? Maybe that happens over in the Patterson household. Over here, we keep it strictly...
That was a weak retort, Donny, weak retort.
Stick to the boxing, Donny, come on.
Yeah. No, all I'm just gonna say is that tonight I think we have, and what I'm excited about, and what I knew was going to be happening, no matter what the result this fight was going to be, was that we were going to have an incredible amount of clarity in the welterweight division. You know, Manny Pacquiao may be off on a quasi-retirement tour with the likes of Jeff Horn and stuff, but eventually, I think he will fight Crawford. We're going to have a winner of that. I'm hopeful that yes, Matty says he'll probably, that Spence will probably fight Porter next or whatever. But eventually, Spence will win out. He will fight Thurman. I'm just excited to see, once the Spence-Thurman matchup happens, and once the Pacquiao-Crawford matchup happens, can we finally get clarity in the welterweight division? Either that we had an enormous step towards tonight. I think that we have a lot of good things to look forward to as boxing fans in the welterweight division. This division's absolutely stacked. And this is a great fight, and some people thought that the welterweight division was going to be somehow lesser or whatever after the loss of Manny and Floyd. I actually disagree with that wholeheartedly. I think it's actually going to be better than ever because now people aren't just waiting out everything. It just reminds me of like Vlad in the heavyweight division where people just waited around for their shot at Vlad and they didn't fight each other, right? Well, now people are actually fighting each other. You have Brook versus Spence. I mean, you have guys fighting each other because there isn't some massive payday out there that everybody's waiting for. They just need to fight each other and they need to prove themselves worthy of any big payday. And that's what we're getting right now. And this is a great time to be a boxing fan. And this is a great time to be a fan of the welterweight division. And may the best man win.
Thanks very much, Donny. My final comment will be, I've enjoyed 2017 so far, and this was another good fight. I'm terrible for sitting and watching fights and letting them pass me by and not paying attention. And I know that it's been a good fight if I've sat there, not necessarily on the edge of my seat, but if I've sat there and watched the fight and enjoyed the fight. And I definitely enjoyed this one, the same as Joshua Klitschko. I was captivated from the beginning till the end, regardless of the winners and the losers and Brook quitting or not quitting. Fair play to Errol Spence. He was a deserved winner tonight, and I thoroughly enjoyed the fight. And before we go, guys, just a final word as well to Ben for sorting us out earlier about a few issues, and he managed to fix them. So thanks to him and to everybody on the panel who came on. I was going to play this tomorrow night, and I probably will. It lasts for a minute and a half, but I thought you might enjoy this, guys, before we get the hell out of here. This was an interview with Eddie Hearn during the week where he laid into sick online trolls. So we'd just
Eddie Hearn's like grass.
Eddie Hearn's like grass, but let's just listen to Eddie discussing some of his fans.
Oh, yeah.
We like Paul Smith. Why? Because he had 2 good fights with Arthur Abraham, not so long ago. Do you understand? So it's a completely fine fight. It makes complete sense for Zolliger to fight Paul Smith. But it still pisses me off that these bitter bastards will sit there all day on Twitter and tweet Gilberto Mendoza non-stop. Fucking hell.
Mendoza tweeted me actually.
Shut up, Andy.
Just fine. Going back to imagine if you put that energy into something else. Anything. When you look at the boys, like I don't know, the couple of Scottish boys, Tommy and Brian and all that mob up there, like they're at it. Think about the energy they put in and the time they put into trolling, right? It's quite incredible, isn't it? In fact, they're very dedicated individuals because it is all they do in their life. Their whole life is trolling on social media. And that makes them happy, so you can't knock that. But imagine if they took that time and energy and passion that they have for being miserable and directed it into something else. You know, they're being unstoppable force.
They are.
We are unstoppable.
I know,
exactly.
But unstoppable force that no one has any respect for. So how can you be happy with your life if you looked at like a joke? You know? But I don't know.
That's when you know he's raging. That's when you know when he's raging. He's got to start fucking getting the digs in and stuff. He's fucking beeling. Hey, Eddie, we don't fucking brag about what we achieve in life, mate. But if you want to fucking go about in your fucking Bentley and stuff, fucking robbing the fans, go ahead, big man. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, what really kills me, though, is that, like, I mean, apparently Eddie Hearn is unaware of the invention of the iPhone where people could actually tweet while they're on the go. You know, I wouldn't even mind, but you, Brian, and Tommy all have like regular day jobs, whatever. You do manage to do all the things that you do while holding down a job and having families and all those sorts of things. I mean, you know, he just wants to insult you because you know what? At the end of the day, he understands that you're effective at what you're doing. You've actually launched a campaign directly to the WBA. You know, obviously we all know that Eddie Hearn's job is to get his fighter a fight. You know, that's all good for him. But you launched a campaign to the WBA and he didn't like it. And he got really upset, and he felt that he'd fucking talk to Coogan about it. So that, you know what, that means you're doing something right.
Donnie, you're just annoyed because you didn't get mentioned, you bitter bastard.
Yeah, you know, the only reason I might be a bitter bastard is, yeah, exactly. I wish I was only in their ranks.
He's raging because we're telling the fucking truth, right? And see, to be honest, see if Paul Smith gets that title shot, he'll be so happy about it. But everybody knows he's not going to get the title shot. I've got a strong fucking suspicion he's not going to get this title shot. Eddie Hearn's paid for his fucking title shot, and they're going to turn around and say, "There's your money back, Eddie. I can't take it off you." It's too blatant.
That'll do, boys. We'll speak to you all tomorrow night. Thanks for listening in. Cheerio.